On September 1st, 2021, the Ambler Arboretum was hit by a EF2 tornado that was a remnant of Hurricane Ida, and the entire Arboretum experienced catastrophic damage, including the loss of many trees and structures. And so one of the structures that was lost was one of the pavilions that we have here that you can see behind me. The damage was significant. As far as the pavilions in this area here, the Bright Memorial Pavilions, which have been called the tea houses in the past by students and faculty, one was completely lost and one was damaged. And basically all of the large trees that were behind the pavilions fell down onto the pavilion. So we had trees that were more than 100 years old fall on top of them. There's a large tulip tree and large sweet gum that fell down and just completely crushed the one structure. The pillars were knocked over, and then the ornate curved trellis that we have here was also damaged on both sides. So it was a couple of days after the storm that we were starting to get electricity back onto campus, figuring out if everything was safe so that the contractors can continue working, and just where wires might be up, and from all the tipped up trees and that kind of thing. And one of our facilities crew came over to me and let me know that when the electric came back on, the fountain came back on. And so the fountain is, we call her the kid with the pitcher, and that's what some students in the Pennsylvania School of Horticulture for Women had called her. But she was running, and it turned out, even though she was surrounded by large branches that had fallen in such a way that she and the fountain and the basin made it through just fine. And so in that moment, it was very exciting to see that something was okay and untouched, really, in the gardens when everything else was just chaos and destruction around it. So it was a sign of hope for us that we still could be this place of beauty, of relaxation, and we could also still honor the history of our space with what has been here for so long. So it was really exciting. To rebuild the pavilions, we actually are fortunate that we went through insurance. So insurance funds covered the rebuilding of the pavilion, and luckily for us, only one was crushed, and the other one, the one that's behind me, remained with just a little bit of damage. So we were able to hire excellent contractors through Temple University's contacts, carpenters who used the one that wasn't damaged as much as a model for rebuilding the other one that had been crushed. So it was built exactly as it had been built in the past. So we stayed true to materials and design when we were rebuilding it. So the rebuilding of the pavilions took quite some time, because it didn't really start until after all the trees and the stumps and everything were ground out, and we had to go through a process of finding the correct contractors to do the work, and so it took a while. And so it was kind of not upsetting, but like another reminder of what had happened. And so when the first pillars started getting put in place, it was really exciting, because on campus after the tornado, the buildings, the classroom buildings, the facilities building, they were all being put back together immediately, of course, because that's where people have offices and students take classes and everything. But the other structures, the more ornamental structures, of course they had to be lower on the priority list. That was just a fact. And so it meant that we were really making progress, that the campus was coming back together, and sort of the icing on the cake was finally, being put back on. And so to see those first pillars go back into place really meant that we were recovering and getting towards the end of the process of restoration of the campus. And the other thing, from the Arboretum's perspective, the trees that you see behind, they're going to be damaged for generations. But here, one of our structures is being fixed, and it's better than it was. They needed, they were eventually going to need new roofs replaced, and they had been rebuilt decades ago, you know, because these have been here since the 1920s. So they've had restoration in the past, and they were due in some time. They're going to be due again, and so now, you know, we have these new structures that'll last a couple of more generations. So hopefully they'll still look great. This is a very popular space for us for celebrations and to honor people, for graduations, for networking events, for weddings. We just started having weddings in this space. Alumni love to come back and get married here in front of these pavilions, and so for us it means that we'll be able to get back to doing some of those things. We will also be landscaping. We'll be creating new landscape around this, and so we're really looking forward to that opportunity too, to plant some mature plants in here to provide a nice backdrop for the celebrations that happen here. It's an iconic space for the Arboretum. If you Google image the Ambler Arboretum, this is one of the places that comes up most frequently, and so it's going to be back and available for people to spend time in and to study in and to study. So the students also study this space in landscape architecture, so it's just back and available for use, and we're really thrilled about that.